Law professor and technology expert Tim Wu claims that there's an underestimated force that drives our daily lives: convenience. That we want everything about our lives to be convenient and efficient and easy. And he calls convenience the most powerful force shaping our individual lives and our economies. Evan Williams, one of the co-founders of Twitter, recently put it, "Convenience decides everything." Well, of course, there are benefits to life's conveniences. But Wu also warns that there is a dark side. With its promise of smooth, effortless efficiency, it can threaten to erase the sort of struggles and challenges that truly give meaning to life. Created to free us, it can be a constraint on what we're willing to do, and thus, in a subtle way, it can enslave us. When we let convenience decide everything, we surrender way too much. We actually surrender our freedom. So this weekend we have to ask ourselves, in what ways does convenience control our lives? And are we enslaved by it? And if so, then Jesus is telling us in the gospel that it's very, very difficult to be his follower. It's very difficult to live out his message because the message of Jesus Christ is very inconvenient. It's not easy, and it's not efficient. His message makes terrible demands on us. Today we live in a culture that screams, "I want my freedom. I don't want any more demands placed on me. I don't want to be constrained. I don't want to be restricted." With this kind of attitude, we really can't say that we're Christians. But neither can you say you're good enough parents. Neither can you say you're good enough husbands or wives. Neither can I say I'm a good enough priest. Following Jesus, being married, being a parent, being a priest, being a teacher, being a caretaker of young children, older, elderly people, it's inconvenient. It's restrictive. It's costly. But these commitments don't have to enslave us, because actually making these kinds of choices can be very freeing. You see, freedom isn't freedom from, it's freedom to. Freedom is about making choices and letting go of possibilities, because we cannot have it all. We have to give up some things to make commitments. And when we accept the limitations that life places on us, and we realize that with any choice we make, any commitment that we make, there will be crosses to bear and there will be pain to experience. But with those choices and with those crosses, we become people of depth and character. And then we can become a disciple. We can then say that we are followers of Christ. There's an old fable about an emperor who many years ago gathered together the wisest people of his kingdom, and he said to them, "I want you to assemble all of the great knowledge of our civilizations so that it will be available for future generations." Well, they worked for many years before returning with 10 bound volumes. The emperor glanced at the stack of books, he frowned, and he said, "Too long." So the sages scurried back to work and did not return until they had edited the 10 volumes down to 1. When they handed it to the emperor, he refused to open it. He said, "It's still too lengthy." Over the next 2 years, the sages condensed the book into 1 paragraph. Well, the emperor still wasn't satisfied. Finally, the wise people came back with a single sentence inscribed on an index card. The emperor read it, he smiled and he said, "This is perfect. Now future generations will understand why we have been so successful. All the genius we possess is contained in this brilliant, solitary phrase." And the sentence read, "There is no free lunch." In the gospel, Jesus really uses literary techniques to startle his disciples, that they have to give up everything to follow him. They have to renounce everything. He's telling them in stark terms the cost of commitment. Well, that same challenge is presented to you and to me, to each of us, in any commitment that we make. Married or single, priest, religious, doctor, lawyer, business person, person that works in the factory, whatever. There's a cost. So perhaps this weekend, each one of us can reflect upon the costs that we're willing to make, to continue to make, for the commitments that we have made or are willing to make. Maybe ask ourselves if we allow our lives to be simply controlled by convenience, wanting everything in life to be easy, efficient, without restrictions, without struggles, free of challenges. Now, so much of our technology provides that. It can be wonderful. Our ability to text and reach out to another in seconds is extremely convenient. Yet we know there is a dark side. There is a cost. How many have died because they were texting while they were driving? So the cost of convenience can be catastrophic. Our technology, which is wonderful, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, it also can compromise our listening skills, both verbal and nonverbal. And they can lead to a lack of empathy and a lack of understanding of each other, and can create tremendous isolation. There's a price for everything. And sometimes the price just isn't worth it. Andrew Luck realized that when he walked off the field a couple of weeks ago as quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. He realized that he was paying dearly with his health, and he made the choice to leave. He left $500 million on the table, and maybe even worse than that. As he walked off the field, he walked off to a booing crowd who they wanted him to continue to mess his life up. But he realized that his choice to play football was not just enslaving him, but possibly killing him. So as we hear that gospel this weekend, and we are challenged like the apostles are challenged, we have to reflect on how we live by convenience. Do we want everything easy and efficient? Do we not want to make sacrifices? Do we not want to pay the price? And then, what is the meaning of our lives? Can we accept the difficulties that come with making choices, the challenges that come with them, the challenge of being a married person, the challenge of being a parent, taking care of little children or elderly parents, the challenge of being a priest, the challenge of being a caretaker, a teacher, whatever the challenge might be. And sometimes, just like Andrew Luck, we have to be strong enough to understand that some of the choices we make can be catastrophic, and we have to back away from those choices. Jesus, years ago, in very stark language, told his apostles, and he tells us today, there is no free lunch.